H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.
Okay, so I'll quickly summarize for 5 minutes or 10 minutes what we discussed in the previous class, and then we'll get started with today's class. So okay, now so in the previous class we discussed on how to create a table. So we saw like we need to create a table using create table, and we need to give table name, for example employee, and then we saw that we need to give the column names like empid and an integer, and if the column name like emp name varchar 20. So this is how we normally create a table. And also in the previous class we saw that we saw what is a primary key. So for example, so primary key is the unique identifier for a particular row of a table. So in case if you have okay, so in case if you have employee ID, employee name, so and so employee name can, like two or more employees can have the same employee name, so in that case your employee ID can play the role of primary key. So primary key is a column using which you can differentiate each row of a table. So if you take employee table, employee ID will be the unique for each row. So in this case employee ID can form the primary key. So if you want to make employee ID as a primary key, you need to give like this, primary key. Okay, so now the points which we discussed about primary key is, so you cannot insert null values, uh, cannot insert null values for primary key. So for example, when you declare this employee ID as a primary key, so when you try to insert, for example insert into employee values, and when you try to write for here like null comma if you want to give the name like Meghnad, so in this case when you, since this employee ID is a primary key, when you try to execute this query, it will throw error because a primary key will not allow null values. Okay, and also primary key will not allow duplicate values. Since this is the column which we are using to differentiate other rows, you cannot insert duplicate values. Like for example, you cannot add one and then again you cannot add one for other employee, like you cannot give like this. The moment you insert first record and when you try to insert the second record with the same employee ID, it will throw error. So a primary key cannot have null values, a primary key will not allow duplicate values. And yeah, just a second, I'm getting some questions. So just a second. So all of you able to hear me? I'm getting okay. So yeah, I'm getting some message saying like not able to hear. So okay, 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 okay. So now the issue is resolved. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just saying like a primary key cannot we cannot insert null values for a primary key, and and we cannot insert duplicate values for even duplicate values for a primary key. Okay, so now after that we discussed on what is a not null constraint, and then if you make a column as not null like this, if you make a column as not null, you cannot insert null values for that. So see here, first name we made it as varchar, and we made here as not null. So when you make it as not null, you cannot insert null values for first name. So but here, since last name we are making it null, so you can insert null values for last name, because some employees may have last name or may not have last name. So in that case we made this as null. So we discussed on check constraint. So for those who missed, they can go through the video, and definitely that will give the complete idea of the course what we discussed in the previous class. And also we discussed on small date time. So small date time and date time, like we have five variables, five data types for storing date and time. So those are date, so date time, date time, and date time 2, and we have small date time. So like how we have integer, so integer or big int or tiny int. So like these are all data types which are used for storing integers, for storing numbers. So these are the data types which are used for storing date and time formats. So date will only store date, if you want to store only date part of date, and time will store only the time. Date time you can store date and time together. For example, let me show you some sample code. So if you want to get the current date, you need to write select get date. So get date is a function. Get date is a function in SQL Server which will return you the current date and time. So when I execute this, you can see that. So let me connect to the database. Okay, see now when I execute this, I'm actually seeing the current date and time. So the current date is 28 May 2014 and the time is 5:50 a.m. So this is what you are seeing. So when you execute it from your end, you will see the date as current your time, like 27th May evening, night 8:20 8:21. Okay. Okay. So now let's see how to connect to SQL Server. So I'll close this window and I'll tell you how to connect again. So let me close this. So once you install SQL Server, so all of you, when you are done with the installation of SQL Server, with the steps which I mentioned in the link which I sent you. Okay, so I'll just tell quick summer. I'll just tell how to install SQL Server. That is a common mistake which students are doing now. Uh, so whatever you have SQL Server, go to Control Panel. So if you are seeing any issues with installation of SQL Server, go to Control Panel and then go to Programs and Features. So you need to uninstall them. So you need to go to Programs and Features. You need to select this and then uninstall those whatever you see. For example, if you see here, I'm seeing like this SQL Server 2008 R2, or whatever you are seeing SQL Server, try to uninstall them. So right click on them, right click and uninstall completely. You should not be seeing anything related to SQL Server 2008. So when you do it for this one, when you uninstall for SQL Server 2008 R2 64-bit, so this I'm telling for those who are having issues with SQL Server, so they need to uninstall this and do a complete reinstall. So right click on this and uninstall this. Once you are done with uninstalling complete all the components of SQL Server, so go to the link which we provided in the welcome email, or let me ping in this chat window. So you need to go to database testing and welcome email, and inside this we have given the link for installing. So you need to go. I'm just telling how to install. So click on this link which we sent. Okay, so you need to copy this and and I'm just giving the link for all of you, so have a look at this link. Okay, so this is the link which you need to download. So you need to click on that link and then click on this download button, and then if your computer is, as mentioned in this document which I sent, if your computer is 32-bit computer, you need to select these two, and if your computer is 64-bit, you need to select these two. So my computer is 64-bit, so what I did, I just selected this SQL Server Express x64, and then I selected SQL Server Management Studio x64. So select those two, and then do not run these two. So when you select those two, you will see here what are those you selected. So I repeat again, as mentioned in the document, select only those components depending on your computer, whether it's 32-bit or 64-bit. So once you select both of them, click on next, and don't run this. So you just save it in your desktop somewhere. So now if you see here, you don't run this. Okay, so the common mistake which students do is they will click on this run. So when they click on run, what happens when you click on run is the softwares might not install sequentially. See, now it is showing Management Studio. So I don't want to install Management Studio first. I want to install SQL Express first. So this is the sequence which you need to install. You need to install SQL Express, and then you need to install SQL Management Studio. Okay, so sometimes students do a common mistake, like they will install this and they will try to install this. So when you do that way, it will not work for you. So you have to install SQL Express first, and then you have to install Management Studio. Okay, so if you're having 64-bit, install this and then install Management Studio. So for that, what you need to do is you need to click on this one and do save as. Okay, so I repeat here, you need to click on this one and you need to save it. Okay, just click on save as, and then you can save it somewhere in the desktop. You can save it somewhere in the desktop. Similarly, you save the other file. Okay, so when you save both the files somewhere in the desktop or somewhere, then you go to that folder, and execute both of them. See, this is also there. And once you save both of them, first you need to execute the this one. First you need to right click on this file and run as administrator. Right click on this file when you save it in the desktop or in some folder. Right click on this and run as administrator. Okay, so is my voice breaking or is it clear for all of you? Is my voice is breaking or is it clear? Okay. Okay, so that is about installing. So I just quickly summarize for those who have issues with SQL Server installation. Go to Control Panel and uninstall all the softwares related to SQL Server, and then come back to this link, click on this link, and don't run those softwares when you are downloading. So download them into some folder and save it into the desktop or somewhere, and then run one by one. So execute the first one. You need to execute SQL Express first, and then you need to execute Management Studio. Okay, and then you should be able to install successfully. So do these steps, and if you face any issues, you can just let me know. Okay. You need to click on next. So when you run that software, right, you need to click on next, 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 like that. So until it says finish, you need to do next, next, next. Okay. So finally it will tell finish, and when you are done with this first one, up to finish, and then it will take around 15 minutes to install first one, and then you start the installation for the second one. Second one will take around 10 minutes to install. So overall it will take around half an hour to install both the softwares. Okay, now let's go to how to connect to SQL Server. So just click on all programs, and you will see Microsoft SQL Server 2008 R2, and click on this SQL Server Management Studio. So when you click on this SQL Server Management Studio, it will ask you to sorry. So here you need to select Windows Authentication. So select Windows Authentication and then click on Connect. Okay, so now when I click on Connect, yeah, so that's all. When I click on Connect, I connected to SQL Server. So here I created a database called DBT 24th May batch. So you need to click on New Query. So for example, if I'm disconnected again, I can simply click on Connect. So I can click on this. For example, if I got disconnected, if you leave for half an hour or 1 hour, it will get disconnected. So what you can do is again the same thing. Click on Start All Programs, and then you need to go to Visual Studio R2, and then you can open Management Studio, and you can connect. Okay, or you can simply click on this button. You can simply click on this button to connect. So what I need to do, I just need to click on this, and then I need to select Windows Authentication, click on Connect. Okay, and then go to Databases, and create a database. So in the previous class we created a database called DBT 24th May. So you need to create that database. So this is how you need to create a database. So create database name, for example, dummy1. So this is how we need to create a database. Create database dummy1. So when you create this, when you execute this, so now when you refresh this databases, right click on this, refresh it, you can see that there is a database called dummy1. Okay, like that in the previous class I have created database called DBT 24th May batch. Okay, now I'm getting a question saying like, what is SQL Server authentication? Okay, so in SQL Server we have two types of authentication modes. One is Windows authentication and the other one is SQL Server authentication. So while installing, all of you, when you click on next, while installing, you would have selected SQL Server authentication. I mean Windows authentication. So Windows authentication doesn't require a password, because because when you log into a computer, then you are going to log into SQL Server. So when you select Windows authentication, that means you are the authenticated user by Windows. System has already authenticated you. Using that system, you are able to connect to SQL Server. So when you select Windows authentication here, you don't need to enter the password. So when I select Windows authentication, I don't need to enter the password. But when I select SQL Server authentication, for example, I am the sysadmin. So what I need to do, I can create another login. So let's try to create another login. So now what I'll do here is I'll click on security. So you see a folder called security. So here you're seeing a folder called security. So in this, what I'll do is I'll click on security tabs, logins. Now I'll right click on this and create a new login. Okay, so I'm going to create a new login now. Let's see how to create it. All of you please see if you can understand. I just expanded this security here, and then click on logins. Okay, so some of your, I mean, is my screen is frozen, or you're able to see as and when I'm explaining? Yeah, okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So I'm just repeating, I'm just saying how to create a login. So now you need to expand this. So you need to expand this security, and you need to click on expand this logins. And now you can right click on this and click on create new login. So when you click on this new login, Okay, here I need to give the login name. For example, let me give the login name as so when you are working for a company, you will have the login names as per, so every user will have a login name. So when you are selecting Windows authentication, you need to give the login name, Windows login name. Okay, but when I'm since I'm going to, you got it. So Windows authentication, you have to give the login name of your uh, Windows system. So for example, if you see here, start control panel, you will see that in um, administrative tools and in the computer management. So in the computer management, these details are not required as a tester, but just quickly I'll just show you. Here you will see local users and groups. So here if you see users, so these are the users for my computer. So I have a guest user, I have Meg6, and I have Megnat, and I have Reddy. So I have, these are the users which I have. So when I lock my computer, or when I log off my computer, so I'll see these 4 users. So anyone can log into my computer like this. Inside an organization, you will have lot of employee IDs. So in that case, when you are selecting Windows authentication here, when you are selecting Windows authentication, you need to give the user ID of that employee. Okay, and when you are giving SQL Server authentication, you don't you can give any login name. For example, I'm giving the login name as Meg um, MEG 18. Okay, so I just entered MEG 18 as username, and here I'm selecting SQL Server authentication. So here let me give the password as pwd at 12345. Okay, so let me copy this. Let me give pw in capital letter, and let me copy this. So now I'm giving this password for this user Meg18. So I'm giving this password. Now now let me, once I add these details, I need to go to server roles. I'm giving some public role. We have different roles actually. So server admin or a DB creator, bulk admin, like that. We have different roles. So I mean, we don't need to focus more on this. And then you need to go to user mappings, and you need to select which database you want him to have access. So I want him to have access for DBT 24th May batch. Okay, now that's all. So I can actually give status grant and enable. I'll just repeat again. I'm canceling this. So what I did was, I went to the security folder, and then right click on the logins, click on new login, and then I'm giving the name. I have selected SQL Server authentication, and then I'm giving the name as Meg18, and then I'm giving the password as pwd@12345. And then I went to the server roles. I selected public here, went to user mappings. I selected a database which I need to give him access, and then I need to click on OK. Okay, so that's it. Now when that user, for that user, I'll tell the user ID and password. So what he will do is, he will open SQL Server. He will try to open SQL Server 2008 R2, and then I'll tell him the password. So whatever I have given. So what he will do is, he will select SQL Server authentication, and he will give the user ID as Meg18, and he will enter the password. Now he'll click on connect. So for the first time, when he is trying to connect, it will ask him to change the password. So what he needs to do, okay, let's change the password. Let's give the new password as pw at 12356. So copy this and paste it here. Now click on connect. So this is how, now if you see here, the current user who has connected here is Meg18. Okay, so he can expand these databases, and since I gave access only for DB24 May batch, and he cannot expand other databases. So when he tries to expand any other database, he will get an error saying the database DB testing is not accessible. He can only expand this database which we have, 24th May batch. Okay, and that too he cannot see the tables. See, now he is not able to see any tables. So for example, let me go to this user. and if you see here inside this database 24th May, I'm seeing the tables as I'm seeing employee, job applicant, sports. But this user whom I created is not able to see any tables. Okay, the reason why he is not able to see any tables is when I right click on, again go to the security, logins, and right click on this Meg 18 properties. When you see here server roles, I gave public. I have not given even anything. For example, if you take for this database, DBT 24th May, for this user I have given only public access. I have not given data reader, data writer, data reader, or DDL admin. So if I have given data reader, he should have seen all the tables. If I have given data writer, he can actually update, or he can do some updates or something, write operations. Since I have not selected any of these, he cannot access until I give permission for this, permissions for that user. Okay, so now let's try to give permission for Meg 18. So here, this window I logged in as admin, who is Meghnad. So now let's try to give select access for him. So now this is how you need to give a select access. Grant select on, what is the table we have in database? In this database we have a table called employee. So now let's try to go to that database. You need to select here the database which you want to work on. So let me select DBT 24th May batch, and then you need to give grant select on what is the table? Employee to what is the user? Meg 18. So this is the syntax if you want to grant access, select access for employee on table employee to Meghnad, Meg 18, which you just created the user. So grant select on employee table to this user. So execute this. So I executed this. Now let me go to the Meg 18 login. Okay, so now I came to this login, other login, where Meg 18 has been logged in. So now let me refresh this and see. Now I'm able to see employee table. The moment sysadmin gives me access for employee table, I'm able to see, but still I'm not able to see other tables. Okay, and then again, if I decided like, okay, I don't want to give access for him, I can actually do revoke. So the moment I do revoke select on employee to employee ID Meg 18, so when I execute this, he cannot again he cannot see this. So when he refreshes this, he cannot see that table employee as well. Okay, so just quickly summarize. So I just created now how to create a user, how to create a new user, and how to create SQL Server authentication, give some password, and select the database which you want to give him access in future. Now when that user tries to log in with his user ID password, since I gave public, I have not given data reader or data writer option, he cannot have option to select data, or he cannot have any option to see the tables. If you want to give access for individual tables, for that user you need to write a query like grant select on employee to Meg 18. Once you give like that, so he can actually log into the database, and he can see the tables which belongs to that database. So any questions here? So Windows authentication, it will not ask for password because you already logged into the system. That means you are authenticated user. SQL Server authentication is something like where it will ask for user ID and password. Okay, so any questions so far, or is it like nothing is clear, or some part is clear, or 100% clear? What is it? How many of you? For how many of you it's clear? Okay, so just to summarize, Windows authentication will not ask for password. So now, so I'll just show you. So when you try to connect to SQL Server, so let me open SQL Server. So here, when you try to connect to SQL Server, so when you are selecting Windows authentication, so it is not asking for password because I have already logged into the system. I'm now seeing SQL Server window. That means my system, if it is having user ID password, I have entered that password correctly. That means I am already authenticated. Okay, I'm already authenticated, so I don't need to enter user ID password here. But if you want to authenticate again, if you want to do authentication again, then you can give SQL Server authentication. Or one more place where very widely SQL Server authentication is used is SQL Server authentication is used is assume that I want to give access for my database for a person who is not employee of our organization. Only employees of my organization will have Windows ID. Okay, so for example, okay, others will not have this Windows ID. In that case, I have to select SQL Server authentication, and I need to give him, create him user ID and password so that he can access outside the organization. Is it making sense? So Windows authentication is you can give only for the employees of your Windows users, all Windows users of your organization. Okay, so now let me give you one more example. So now if you see in my computer, so I have these are the users. So I have Meg6, Meghnad, Reddy, and so these are the users I have for my computer. So when I log the computer, you will see like this. Or when I log off and when I try to log in the Windows system, you will see three icons. Which user you want to log in? So you will see like this, and here you will see here guest user, and here you will see like Meg6, and here you will see like Meghnad. So this is the current user. So all of you seen anytime like this when you log off, when you try to log into Windows, if you have different accounts for that system, if you have different accounts for the system in Windows, while logging in, it will show the users, all the users. So you have to select which user you want to log in. How many of you seen this type when you log off and when you try to log in? Yeah, so all of you would have seen this. So now when I have a password for this Meghnad account, so when I click on this Meghnad, it will ask for the password. So that means when I'm entering password and entering to the computer, that means I know the password. I'm already authenticated. So I don't want to enter the password again when I open SQL Server. Okay, so that is the reason why Windows authentication doesn't require password. So now let me show you one more thing. So I'm connecting with the soup. So now I'm going to connect with another user. So for example, I'm trying to give another login for, see now, go to security and logins, right click on this, new login. Now when I select Windows authentication, I can give login names of those who are here. Only I can give login names for those users who are in my computer management. Only these users. Meg6 I can give. See now, let me try to give Windows authentication here, and I'm giving Meg6. Okay, and then the moment when I click on search, here if I enter here Meg6, check names, you can see that Meghnad PC / Meg6 is there, because for this computer Meg6 is a user. So in this when you are trying to log into this computer, you will see like this Meg6, guest, and Meghnad. But now when I try to give for Windows authentication, when I try to give some other user, say for example Meg20, now when I click on search, when I write here Meg20, he is not there. This user is not there in my Windows system. So if you search here, he will not find, and user is not found. Okay, so Windows authentication you can give only for those whose accounts are there in the Windows system. You cannot give for anyone Windows authentication. Okay, so now is it clear now, Windows authentication and SQL Server authentication? For how many of you is it clear? Okay, so not seeing the response from all of you. Anyone wants me to tell about Windows authentication? I'll unmute you, so you can take a couple of minutes to explain what is Windows authentication. Who can tell? Just ping me, I can tell like that. Anyone? Anyone wants wants to just tell about Windows authentication? Okay, so no one is comfortable to tell about Windows authentication. Okay, so let me make it still clear. Um, okay, so let me make it still clear about Windows authentication. So when you want to give the first point, you can give Windows authentication for those users who are there configured in your Windows machine. If you are an individual, okay. So for individuals, you can give Windows authentication. See here. When I try to add, for example, when I try to add a user, so right click on this login, new login, and when I click on search, for example, when I click on Meg here and click on search, here when I'm searching, for example, when I'm searching for Meg 6, okay, so it is actually searching for Megnath PC / Meg 6. If you are working for an organization, for example, if you are working for Infosys or some company, it'll search in the domain. It'll search for in the domain like Infosys / MEG. So it will search in throughout the organization, complete organization Active Directory Windows account, and if that user is found, it'll click on, it'll come like this. It'll come a line will come under that, and it'll show you.
H2K Infosys provides world-class online IT training, staffing, and software testing solutions to customers worldwide. H2K Infosys, how we are different from our competitors. 100% job-oriented training, hands-on project work, cloud test lab, resume preparation and review, mock interviews, robust syllabus, one-time fee and lifetime access to classes, access to recorded sessions of live classes. H2K Infosys has won the trust of thousands of students worldwide. For a free demo class, visit us at h2kinfosys.com.